Why are certain coordinates in the Gobi Desert showing degraded resolution during specific time periods? We used historical satellite archives to look back in time and discovered something unusual. Coordinates near China's primary satellite launch facility showed clear, high-resolution imagery in the early 2000s. Then, during periods of known construction activity between 2008 to 2011, the resolution degraded significantly. After the structures were complete and public attention faded, some clarity returned. This isn't any conspiracy theory. Governments contract with commercial satellite companies and request specific locations receive degraded imagery, pixelation, or delayed updates. The US does it, China does it, France does it, the Netherlands allows it. Today we're examining 5 locations where satellite imagery is deliberately controlled. We'll provide exact coordinates so you can verify every claim yourself using Google Earth Pro's free historical imagery tool. And we'll show you what these resolution patterns reveal about what governments consider too sensitive for real-time public surveillance. Area 51, officially Groom Lake, is a highly classified U.S. Air Force facility 83 miles northwest of Las Vegas. The base wasn't officially acknowledged by the U.S. government until 2013. When Google Earth launched in 2005, Area 51 appeared as a completely pixelated smudge. You could see razor-sharp roads leading to the facility, then suddenly, nothing. Just blocky, degraded pixels. Open Google Earth Pro right now and use the historical imagery slider at these coordinates. Pull the timeline to March 2000. You'll see moderate resolution, enough to identify basic structures. Slide to 2006. Pixelation increases. Move to 2010. Resolution degrades further. Then in 2013 to 2014, something changes. The imagery suddenly sharpens. Why? In August 2013, the CIA officially declassified documents acknowledging the facility's existence. Once the government admitted the base existed, maintaining the satellite blur lost its purpose. Current imagery shows Area 51 in relatively high resolution. You can count aircraft on the tarmac, identify different hangar types, and trace taxiways. But watch the timeline closely. During the Federation of American Scientists' documented expansion period of 2008 to 2010, when new hangars were added and runways extended, that's precisely when imagery quality was at its worst. The pattern is clear. Maximum degradation during active construction, improved clarity after operations are established or declassified. Area 51 isn't alone. Compare these U.S. facilities yourself. Tonopah Test Range, Nevada, 37.8 degrees north, 116.78 degrees west. Pixelated during stealth aircraft development. Pine Gap, Australia, 23.799 degrees south, 133.737 degrees east. Joint U.S.-Australia intelligence facility with persistent low resolution. The censorship follows operational sensitivity, not just location. In November 2011, Reddit users discovered bizarre structures in China's Gobi Desert. What they found: a full-scale replica of Washington, D.C. streets near the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center white grids, measuring 0.65 by 1.15 miles in perfect geometric patterns, concentric circles with military aircraft visible inside zigzagging lines resembling urban layouts, pull up 40.458 degrees north, 93.394 degrees east right now. You can clearly see the outline of Washington's street grid, the elliptical tidal basin shape, even approximate major thoroughfares. The structures themselves aren't blurred, they're visible. What's interesting is the resolution quality fluctuation in surrounding areas. Space analyst Jonathan Hill explained these are likely satellite calibration grids. Satellites need ground reference points with known dimensions to verify imaging accuracy and correct lens distortion. But here's what makes the censorship pattern revealing. Use Google Earth Pro's historical imagery at coordinates 40.96 degrees north, 100.29 degrees east, The Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center itself. Pull the timeline back to 2005. You see moderate resolution. Move forward to 2008 to 2011 during heavy construction activity. Resolution decreases noticeably. By 2013, after structures are complete, some clarity returns. Now check the image date stamp in Google Earth's lower left corner. During known satellite launch windows, publicly announced dates when China launches reconnaissance satellites, imagery updates for this region consistently lag 6 to 12 months behind other Chinese cities like Shanghai or Beijing. Compare yourself. Check Shanghai's image date, then check Jiuquan's. The lag is measurable, the structures are permanent and mostly explained. The operational activity around them, satellite launches, vehicle movements, personnel deployment, that's what gets degraded during sensitive periods. But here's the unexplained detail. At coordinates 40.452 degrees north, 93.742 degrees east, there's a circular arrangement of white pillars in the desert. Based on shadow length analysis, each pillar is approximately 40 feet tall. It's been visible in imagery since at least 2006. No one has offered a convincing explanation for its purpose. It's too large and elaborate for simple calibration. You can verify everything using Google's Earth Engine timelapse at earthengine.google.com/timelapse. It shows animated construction of these grids from 2000 to 2023. The Gobi patterns demonstrate selective transparency. China allows visibility of permanent infrastructure while controlling imagery quality during active operations. Moruroa Atoll is where France conducted 193 nuclear weapons tests between 1966 and 1996. That's 193 nuclear detonations on a small coral island over 30 years. Pull up 21.8 degrees south, 138.9 degrees west on Google Earth right now. The entire atoll appears pixelated, rendered at such low resolution you can barely distinguish island from ocean. The atoll measures roughly 17 miles long, but it looks like a blurry smudge. Now pull up Torreya, a similar atoll 50 miles away at 20.8 degrees south, 138.5 degrees west. It appears in sharp detail, visible beaches, vegetation, individual structures. Why the difference? France requested the degradation. After testing ended in 1996, the International Atomic Energy Agency documented extensive radioactive contamination. Underground explosions created cracks in the coral structure, allowing plutonium-239, cesium-137, and other isotopes to leach into the ocean. French authorities classified detailed maps showing crater locations, subsidence zones, and radiation hotspots. Commercial satellite providers were asked to degrade resolution to prevent independent verification of contamination spread. Use the historical slider. Go back to the 1990s, before widespread censorship. You can see administrative buildings, airstrips, and testing infrastructure with moderate clarity. Around 2005 to 2006, resolution drops. By 2010, most detail is gone. The official justification is safety, preventing visitors to contaminated areas. But the atoll is already a restricted military zone. French patrols enforce a no-access perimeter. The real reason is preventing independent environmental monitoring. Declassified reports confirm at least 14 underground tests caused detectable ground subsidence. The coral structure partially collapsed. One 1979 test triggered a tsunami inside the lagoon. If high-resolution imagery were available, independent researchers could measure collapsed crater zones, track lagoon water discoloration patterns, identify visible fracture patterns in coral, monitor erosion inconsistent with natural atoll formation. France doesn't want public tracking of how contamination plumes are spreading. The censorship protects ongoing environmental liability, not the site itself. Similar censorship applies to other nuclear sites. Semipalatinsk, Kazakhstan, 50.7 degrees north, 77.8 degrees east. Soviet test ground with inconsistent resolution, Lopnur, China, 40.4 degrees north, 90.3 degrees east. Chinese test site with persistent pixelation. Babylon, the ancient Mesopotamian city, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site 53 miles south of Baghdad. Pull up 32.5 degrees north, 44.4 degrees east right now. You'll see a bizarre patchwork. Parts of the ruins appear in high detail. Individual building foundations are visible. Other sections are deliberately blurred despite being on flat, open terrain with no obvious security justification. The first explanation was military operations. During the 2003 Iraq War, U.S. forces built Camp Alpha directly on Babylon's ruins. Military vehicles crushed 2,600-year-old brick pavements. Helicopter pads were bulldozed into archaeological layers. UNESCO described it as grave damage to one of humanity's most important cultural sites. For several years, imagery was degraded, ostensibly to prevent insurgents from identifying military positions. But Camp Alpha closed in 2004. U.S. forces withdrew, yet the censorship continued, and in some ways intensified. Use the historical slider. Go to 2003. Military infrastructure is visible. Tents, vehicle parks, barriers. Move to 2008 to 2010. Resolution decreases. By 2015, sections around the Ishtar Gate and Processional Way are noticeably blurred despite zero military presence. What changed? Illegal excavation and looting. After U.S. withdrawal, Babylon became a target for artifact smugglers. Mesopotamian artifacts, cylinder seals, cuneiform tablets, statuary fetch enormous black market prices. Real-time satellite imagery would allow authorities to track illegal digs and intercept smuggled artifacts. So Iraq requested imagery degradation to prevent looters from coordinating via satellite surveillance. But this created a problem. It also prevents legitimate archaeological monitoring. In 2019, UNESCO documented that a nearby hotel construction project bulldozed unexcavated palace areas. But the damage wasn't detected until months later because satellite imagery was censored. Current state if you zoom in. Ishtar Gate area. Moderate resolution. Processional Way. Deliberately blurred southern palace. Pixelated surrounding modern town. High resolution. The selective pattern reveals what Iraq protects. Not preserved tourist ruins, but unexcavated sections where looting is most profitable. Similar patterns across conflict zones. Nimrud, Iraq, 36.1 degrees north, 43.3 degrees east. Assyrian ruins with inconsistent imagery since ISIS Palmyra, Syria, 34.5 degrees north, 38.3 degrees east. Roman city degraded during civil war. Archaeological censorship prevents real-time tracking of cultural destruction and looting operations. Volkel Air Base is a Royal Netherlands Air Force facility in southern Netherlands. It's publicly acknowledged. It hosts F-35 fighters. There are official tours. It's not secret. Pull up 51.6556 degrees north, 5.7075 degrees east. The base is heavily pixelated, far lower resolution than surrounding farmland. Buildings are blurry. Aircraft parking areas are obscured. Farms 500 meters away appear crystal clear. The base looks frosted. Why? Volkel is believed to store USB-61 tactical nuclear bombs as part of NATO's nuclear sharing arrangement. This is an open secret. Multiple investigations document that the U.S. maintains approximately 20 nuclear gravity bombs at Volkel in hardened shelters. Dutch politicians debate it publicly. Security analysts have published reports identifying which shelters likely contain weapons. Yet imagery remains censored, not by the Netherlands, but by the United States. Under NATO agreements, the U.S. retains operational control over nuclear weapons deployed in Europe. This includes authority over what can be photographed. So even though the Dutch government owns the airfield, the U.S. controls satellite imagery resolution through commercial provider contracts. Use the historical slider at Volkel. Go to 2000 to 2005. Individual aircraft shelters and administrative buildings appear in moderate resolution. Around 2008 to 2010, coinciding with increased NATO nuclear deployment tensions, resolution degrades significantly. By 2015, the entire facility is uniformly blurred. Now compare to another Dutch airbase without nuclear weapons. Pull up Gilserijen Air Base at 51.57 degrees north, 4.93 degrees east. Same country, same military. High resolution, you can see individual aircraft clearly. The pattern is unmistakable. Check these yourself. Leeuwarden Air Base, Netherlands, 53.2 degrees north, 5.7 degrees east. No nukes. High resolution, visible F-35s Florence Air Base, Belgium, 50.2 degrees north, 4.6 degrees east. Suspected nuclear storage. Pixelated Volkel Air Base, Germany, 50.2 degrees north, 7.1 degrees east. Confirmed nuclear site. Pixelated European bases storing U.S. nuclear weapons receive targeted degradation. Conventional bases don't. Here's the geopolitical angle. The Netherlands has a vocal anti-nuclear movement. Public polls show majority opposition to hosting U.S. weapons. By keeping imagery blurred, NATO prevents independent verification of weapon numbers or types, information that could fuel domestic pressure to remove them. The censorship serves political objectives, maintaining plausible deniability about nuclear deployments, even though basic facts are publicly acknowledged. What the patterns reveal. Area 51. Pixelation lifted only after official acknowledgement, showing direct link between declassification and imagery access. Gobi Desert. Structures fully visible, but resolution degrades around launch facilities during operational periods, hiding activity, not infrastructure. Moruroa Atoll. Blurred to prevent independent tracking of radioactive contamination and structural damage, obscuring environmental liability. Babylon. Shifting censorship. First military, now anti-looting, inadvertently preventing legitimate preservation monitoring. Volkel Air Base. U.S. authority blurs Dutch facility to obscure nuclear weapons despite public knowledge, serving political rather than security goals. The key insight: satellite censorship isn't primarily about hiding locations. Most of these sites are publicly acknowledged. What's being controlled is activity. Construction during sensitive periods, environmental damage, looting operations, weapons movements. Governments don't blur everything equally. They target specific timeframes, specific sections, specific operational windows. By analyzing when imagery degrades and when it improves, you can infer what activities are considered most sensitive. What other coordinates are being obscured right now? What changed between last year's imagery and this year's? What will be visible 10 years from now that's blurred today? The technology exists to see almost anywhere on Earth. What we're allowed to see is controlled by governments contracting with commercial satellite providers. Drop the most interesting coordinates you've found in the comments.